If I wanted to lose 30 pounds in 90 days, here's what I would do. Think about what you were doing just 3 weeks ago. Now, if you could have lost 10 pounds between then and now, would you have done it? Well, guess what? You're going to get the opportunity with this video. I'm going to show you how to do that exactly and how to just change one thing that will radically change things forever. One thing I have learned over the years of working with people in this area is that if you're overweight, you generally only eat once or twice a day. But when you do that, it's like you take out a small village. In other words, you eat a bunch of calories in one sitting. And I believe that this is what's keeping you stuck. I'm gonna show you a simple method that will teach you how to portion control and actually understand physical hunger versus emotional hunger. I want to tell you a story that happens quite often inside of our Empty Your Bucket nutrition plan. And it's this reoccurring theme, and it is, JT, I'm not hungry. Can I decrease the amount of food that I am intaking? Now, these are people that are losing 2 to 4 pounds a week consistently, okay? So you may say, well, that's a great thing. If I can lose weight and not be hungry, that's a good thing, right? I would think that you would be interested in understanding how that works. And so oftentimes what happens is that people go too long without eating, right? They go 6, 7, 8 hours without eating, they're busy, and then once they sit down, they intake 3,500 calories, and that easily gets people in trouble. So here's the prescription if you wanted to change that. If you want to lose 30 pounds in 90 days, number one, I would eat every 3 hours and not go more than 4 hours without eating. Now, the reason for this is not for what science says, that it speeds up your metabolism, it keeps you anabolic. We're not talking about a bodybuilding diet here. We're talking about actually creating a cadence so that you're never overly hungry and you're actually making sober decisions when it comes to food. What do I mean by sober decisions? When we're hungry, we don't think. Think of that whole little adage of don't go to the grocery store if you're hungry. What ends up happening usually? You just eat a bunch of junk. You buy a bunch of junk that you don't need, right? Because you're not thinking with your senses, you're thinking with your stomach. This is often what happens when you go too long without eating. So eating every 3 hours, keeping that cadence, actually allows us to portion control, especially if you become very specific in the times that you need to eat. So for example, maybe you say, my breakfast happens at 9, I have lunch at 12, I have a mid-snack at 3, and I have dinner at 6. If you can consistently stick to those times, what's gonna happen is you may eat your first meal, let's say at 9 o'clock, you have your breakfast. By 12, you're gonna notice you're not too hungry, you're gonna eat lunch, right? And then of course, when 3 o'clock comes around and it's time to eat again, you're naturally going to pull back and not eat a bunch of food, and the same thing happens at 6 for dinner. So you naturally portion control because you're eating at this cadence, and just doing that allows you to omit a lot of those calories that are keeping you stuck. Number two, you want to eat at least 100 grams of protein a day. Why do I say 100 grams? Understanding that most people have different weight, you're weighing differently, maybe you're 150, 200, 300 pounds. What you hear out there commonly is that you need to eat a gram of protein per pound of weight. I'm gonna tell you something very different. I'm gonna say that the vast majority of people have a really, really hard time eating protein. Now, one of the great properties in protein is that it's satiating. It doesn't spike as much insulin as starchy carbohydrates. You can get away with more. And because of that, protein becomes such an anabolic thing to consume so that you are staying satiated, not spiking a lot of insulin. And then of course, you're naturally going to eat less. And once again, those proteins don't spike a lot of insulin. Number three, you wanna make sure that you're eating healthy fats. What do I mean by healthy fats? Extra virgin olive oil, coconut oil, avocados, yolks, and my very favorite, Udo's oil. It's spelled U-D-O-S oil, Udo's oil. Udo's oil is your omegas 3, 6, and 9. These omegas are amazing. They're the perfect balance. They keep you satiated throughout the day. And you're gonna hear me here in the next couple of points omit a food group for a season. So when we do that, and I'll bring you back to this so you know what I'm talking about, I just don't wanna get ahead of myself. When you actually bring these fats in, what actually happens is you have energy, right? And fat, healthy fat, is a more reliable source of energy than starchy carbohydrates, okay? So you wanna bring in your healthy fats. Number 4, you want to make sure that you're bringing in fibrous carbs, your vegetables, your salads. If you're getting a nice dose of fiber, you're going to be satiated. You're going to be able to self-control because you won't be hungry all the time. Fibrous carbs allow us to stay full most of the day, and we can get away with a lot. 2 to 4 cups of greens, green leafy vegetables is what we're looking for. That's going to help a lot in this process of keeping you full throughout the day. Number 5, remember I said we were going to omit a food group. That food group for a season, I would say 6 weeks, is starchy carbohydrates. Why do we omit starchy carbohydrates? Starchy carbohydrates, out of all macronutrients, spike the most insulin. And if you're consistently doing that week after week, month after month, then what's happening is you are actually retaining a ton of glycogen in your liver and muscle stores, and the compound effect of that is called fat. So if you're overdoing your starches, this is why most likely you're getting in a lot of trouble, you're getting a lot of cravings. So we omit these for 6 weeks, but remember, you're not on a carbless diet. You're bringing fibrous carbs in, which are still carbs, but they're water-based, they're very different, and they don't spike as much insulin. Number 6, you want to walk between 7 to 10K 3 times a week. So each time you want to go for 7 or 10K. If that is a lot, then all you need to do is set an alarm, go for 45, 60 minutes, whatever you manage to do in that time at a brisk walk where you can hold a conversation. That's the thing that's going to bring the biggest return on investment. Running, sprinting, biking, and doing all those high cardiovascular activities utilize oxygen for energy. This is not what we want. We want to utilize glycogen. We want to deplete glycogen. So being able to walk 3 times a week and each time doing 7 to 10K is going to be very, very beneficial in depleting glycogen, more so than any other form of physical activity. This is one of the concepts that I get the most pushback on, because as humans, we have this mindset that if it's harder, maybe it's going to get me to my goal faster, and nothing can be further from the truth. Remember, it's usually the little things that make the biggest difference when it comes to hacks and tricks, and this is one of my favorite hacks and tricks. So make sure you walk. Number 7, water. You want to make sure that you're drinking your body weight in water. So for example, if you're 150 pounds, you want to drink 150 ounces of water a day. Water is a very, very important component, right? 80% of our body is composed of water. If you're not drinking sufficient water, you're going to retain water, which is not necessarily a good thing, especially with the scale. So you want to make sure that you're well hydrated, half a gallon to a gallon of water throughout the day. You also want to make sure that you are absorbing nutrients at an efficient rate. What do I mean by that? A can of tuna has about 13 grams of protein. If you're not well hydrated, you're only going to be able to absorb maybe 6 or 7 of those grams, okay? So you want to make sure that you're being very efficient with the way that you consume your water so that you can absorb those nutrients more efficiently. Lastly, I want to say that with water, one of the key factors with water is a healthy gut. 80% of your health is in your gut. Drinking sufficient water makes for a healthy gut, okay? So if you're not drinking enough water, most likely you're not having daily bowel movements. Remember, most diets focus only on what goes in, but not what goes out. What goes out is important as well, so you want to make sure you're drinking plenty of water so that your bowel movements are healthy. And my friend, if you can do all of these points, right, and you can jot them down, right, you can set an alarm, and you can make a contract, a promise with yourself, and you follow this for at least 30 to 40 days, you're going to see some radical changes. You're going to be able to lose 30 pounds in 90 days by following each and every one of these steps that I just mentioned. Even better, if you've never considered coaching, I would love to see you on the other side. It is important that you have a coach that can hold you hyper accountable, that can show you all the hacks and tricks so you're doing things smarter and not harder. That solution for you is called the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. If you go to the comments down below, you're gonna see a link there. That link is going to bring you to a page where you can schedule a free strategy call with me, no strings attached. I'm gonna show you 3 things that you can do inside of the list of what I just mentioned that are going to allow you to lose 25, 30 pounds and much more if that's what you decide to do. I hope you've enjoyed this video. My name is JT Tapias with the Empty Your Bucket Nutrition Plan. I'll talk to you soon. Ciao, ciao.